Paint is all over Transformers, whether they're in a cartoon or a comic book. Heck, even CG Transformers are sort of digitally painted, right? You might say they're literally made of the stuff. Not the toys, however. They're made of plastic and the paint must be lovingly, or sometimes not so lovingly, applied. That's right, Transformers fans, it's once again time to go full nerd and discuss something that would almost certainly get you beaten up in a pub, but that is perfectly fine on YouTube, and that's which modern G1 Transformer has the best paint job. Number 10, Blaster. I was trying to figure out what exactly about this figure makes it pop, and I think it's the vivid red in contrast with that white face. You'll see it's actually painted, not white plastic. Unfortunately, that means mistakes can happen, which is why this guy is at number 10, but I can see what they were going for by choosing to paint the face, and that sort of overrides the application error here. Then there's the chest piece, which I really love, an update that makes it feel much more cartoony, replacing transparent plastic with this simple, clean, cel-shaded window style. It's just a lot classier, I think, and overall the figure is less busy than that Kingdom original, an example of a considered and well-observed paint update in my opinion. Number 9, Scourge. It doesn't jump out at you as much on camera, but the choice to have a version of Scourge with more movie accurate colouring is great here. This is him next to one of the sweeps, which has a paint job that more accurately mimics the original G1 toy rather than the cartoon. The scheme itself is pretty straightforward, that purplish blue and grey, although I do like his pink fingernails that really stand out and his mustachioed face, but I've included Scourge mainly because of this choice between these two different paint jobs. I wasn't sure how I felt about it at first, since Scourge is obviously identical to the sweeps in the movie, but over time I've grown to really like this option. It adds variety to Galvatron's crew on display, and I think it's a demonstration of how you can stray somewhat from the canon while still satisfying fans. Figures that are both a nod to the movie and the original toy in the same line, you have the option. I really like it, and it's all to do with the paint. Number 8, Ratchet. Sometimes you don't need to do anything flashy for a colour scheme to look great, and Ratchet's classic red and white design is one example of that. I don't know, sometimes designers just miss stuff, like how annoying would it be if they hadn't painted his fists red, or his grey eyebrow didn't stand out. I could easily see that happening. Thankfully, they looked at the original cartoon and said, let's do that. Thank you, Hasbro. Thank you. Just like his moldmate Ironhide, the battle damage version that they brought out later is better, adding the missing stripe on the van, but I'm not buying a near-death version of a figure just to get the more accurate paint job. This one is fine. Interesting fact in researching this video, the symbol on his shoulders, that's apparently the Autobot sign of life, and it's there to avoid getting sued by the Red Cross. Bonkers, right? Number 7, Hound. I put Hound in here because I really like this slightly muted pastel green they've chosen. I don't know why, but it screams cartoon to me. You can see the same sort of thing here with this Trailbreaker that came in the same multi-pack next to Earthrise Blue Streak, who has this blacker black. If I had to hazard a guess as to why I feel this way, I think it might have something to do with the original broadcast quality of the cartoon. Think about it, it's not in HD, there's none of the modern vivid blacks that are always touted as an aspect of new TVs, and broadly speaking, the image on a typical era-appropriate tube TV would have been more muted. This choice of green speaks to that for me. Additionally, I like decals, but I don't like applying them. So when a figure already comes with some nice tattooing, like this yellow star here, I go all weak at the knees, like Studio Series Sludge, but that's a different video. Number 6, Regar. He's one of the earliest figures I bought, and I think I was kind of spoilt by him. I don't think there's many others in the modern line, G1 line, that feature this many different colours on one figure. There's even this bit of flaming gold here. It's very rare to find just one application of a given colour. Okay, technically there's 2 applications because he has this Nike swoosh on his head. I really like the salmon pink colour they've chosen for aspects of the figure, this odd slightly pearlescent yellow of the wheel rims, and somehow the beiges and the browns don't pull the figure down into a kind of a muddy brown mess or make him look like an IKEA sofa. Probably due to the red. The muted tones just make it pop more. Value for money, I think, this paint job. Number 5, Smokescreen. I know he has a lot going for him already, given that the colours just are striking anyway, but this is another example for me, like Ratchet, of simply sticking to the plan, get it right. I'd like to say it would be hard to mess up a character that transforms into a flashy racing car, but we all know it's possible, and I'm really glad for this one they decided to go so cartoon accurate. Look at those yellow eyebrows, love it. Number 4, Cup. Although the colour matching with the movie isn't as accurate as I would like it to be, he's actually got quite a lot of green in there rather than grey and blue. I do really like the pastel shades they've chosen, and of course for the buzzworthy Bumblebee release they revisited the chest piece in a pretty satisfying way, I think. I really like the inking on the windshield, reminiscent of comic art, when it would have been so easy to just paint it one flat colour. Very happy too that they didn't miss the flashes of orange on the cuffs and belt. Little accents on a character like these are the difference between him looking cheap and looking like someone put some care and attention into the design and then the execution. With these updates, I sometimes feel like Hasbro isn't really aware of certain things until the fans react, like the chess piece. Give us a more cartoon accurate look, they cry. Then Hasbro does it. Of course, there's the other little voice in my head that says, of course they know already, they just do these updates later, so you have to pay twice for the latest version. How true could that be? I would genuinely love to be a fly on the wall in some of those meetings. Number 3, Rumble, with Frenzy for reference. Although Frenzy is a more vibrant red, like the cartoon, it's the choice of colours for Rumble that I think are spot on here. They're very different to the colours of the toy, that toy being Frenzy, of course. Yes, it's confusing. But anyway, like the name change, the paint application firmly states this is Cartoon Rumble. And I appreciate that, since it would have been really easy to cheap out on this small core class figure, but they didn't. They made an effort and it does make an impact, at least for me. Number 2, the Dinobots, all of them. Because I can't really single out one, although Snarl is the weakest due to the yellow plastic, but broadly speaking, I'm so happy they decided to go for some kind of gold on these guys. And there are so many little choices they made that I agree with, like I really wanted Slug to have a red face, not the black face like the G1 toy. He has a red face in the cartoon. Let's go cartoon. So yeah, gold. It's not as shiny as it might have been back in the day. We were having an interesting discussion in the comments actually on a previous video about the fact that if we want cartoon accuracy, then technically there should be no metallics on any of these figures, because in the cartoon obviously gold is just yellow. But I feel we as an audience know what that yellow is meant to signify. It's gold, and it would be a shame to miss the opportunity to bling these guys out a little bit. Also, and there's no way to say this without me sounding like a psychopath, I really like the shade of grey they chose. It's just reflective enough that it hints at steel. It's certainly not as matte as some of the other greys used across the line. I can't believe that I've just said that I'm looking at toys and comparing shades of grey. I'm just glad I'm already married. I don't have to leap that hurdle, and as long as the wife doesn't watch this video, I should hopefully, fingers crossed, stay married. You know, choices like these are so subjective. You'll never please everyone. Yes, they're grey and yellow in the cartoon, but the Dinobot toys, they stood out on the shelves because of all the shiny bits. Ultimately, I think they found the right balance with the Studio Series 86 Dinobots. They're one of the highlights of the line for me. Number 1, Insecticons. These guys all benefit from exactly the same paint approach, although Kickback is perhaps the best example of how a choice of materials can really make a figure work in conjunction with the paint. They're starting out strong with the deep purple, the midnight black, but add to that some lateral thinking. In this case, tinted plastic on top of what I imagine is bright yellow underneath. And suddenly you've got these chest pieces that look lustrous and have this metallic hue. I guess we're finding out that I'm just an easy lay for anything shiny and expensive looking. I say Kickback is the standout because of his clear plastic wings. I know that's not technically a paint job, but it's the choice of material that make his wings look like the translucent wings of a real insect. It really complements the figure. They also got the eyes correct on all 3 figures, making sure they're big enough that the bold red can pounce out at you. I'm trying to think of other words other than pop. Explode at you. So those are my picks for the best paint jobs in the modern G1 line. Do you disagree or have an alternative? It doesn't even have to be G1 either. Technically, it doesn't even have to be Transformers. Any toy fan is welcome here. But before I go, I just wanted to take this opportunity to welcome all the new viewers. Thank you all for your thoughtful comments. Truly, there's so much crap on YouTube, but you lot are a class act and are constantly giving me interesting insights and food for thought. Keep those comments coming. I've been Nap Yet, and I'll see you next time.